Hello, welcome
Hello.
back. Hey Ting, good to see you for week 4 of the. Oh look, I haven't even updated my titles there. It is reduce, reuse, recycle week, but week 4. But before we talk about week 4, as always, we go into a few comments of last week. We had some cracking comments on last week's video, didn't we, Ting?
We certainly did. I always enjoy reading those. It's usually when I'm lying in bed trying to go to sleep.
Most people were just saying, as you did, Ting, how much of a good episode it was. Sarah there says, oh, well, other than my history bit, enjoyed the entire episode this week. As Ting said, a breath of fresh air.
I think the
We,
guest judge really helps.
yeah, we, I don't know when the last time we saw an episode that where everyone came away so positive and going, do you know what? That was really good. It's been a long time, I think.
I think so because I think we get caught up in all of the episodes with, and often where we have our discussions is about how the judging has gone, whether the criteria was consistent, or whether it started off one way and then it ended up another way, and everything. But having the guest judge who knew exactly what she wanted, it just then meant everything was judged fairly,
Absolutely.
and we all knew where we stood. We knew where we stood as viewers. They knew where they stood as
Yeah.
sewers.
It says here, Tom, the stars certainly aligned for that episode. Banky Cuckoo did an excellent job as the specialist guest judge. And I know many other people had commented on how she just judged. It was clear she had a criteria and she knew what the criteria was. So, yes, some nice words there. In fact, nearly all the comments are lovely. Everyone who watches our channel gets that we love it, gets that we want to talk about it, but they also do it respectfully, where we try and talk about the garments and not personally at the sewers, which is wonderful. Then we got into the history bit and how my cheese and marmite goes down quite well.
Absolutely
so
not.
so Catherine says, I love cheese and marmite. And then Sue goes, I'm a cheese and marmite fan. I also love cheese and marmalade.
Well, yeah, I can understand that, and I would rather have that than Marmite.
Really? Cheese and
Well, it's
marmalade?
like
That's
when
sort of
because
savoury and
marmalade's
sweet.
going to have that bitter taste to it, and so that kind of just helps. It balances the cheese out, doesn't it?
I shall try it. They started carrying on. There was messages galore about whether it will be raspberry jam or
Oh
blackcurrant.
no, I wouldn't do that.
Then we got into the windbreaks. It's fascinating wherever you are in the world, how differently we do things. But I would have always thought that the windbreaks would have been in the beach no matter where you are. But here we go. As an Aussie, I've never heard of a windbreak before. Makes complete sense now. And of course, especially when you can't watch the episode, they must have been, what is a windbreak? So that was, thanks Jessica for that. And then we had Practical Stitches in Canada. I'm in Canada. I've been enjoying your videos as a sewing bee is not available here. I live on the East Coast and a windbreaker is a jacket.
Which I mean, I've referred to a jacket before as a windbreaker as well. I suppose that's probably where we would come across it the most. Because we don't go to the beach all the time here. But I think the windbreaker that we saw in the episode was a quintessentially British thing that happens down at the beach because the wind whips across so much. We're on our tiny little island that we need a little bit of protection.
Absolutely. But our last comment, I've got words to pick with you, Ting, because our eagle-eyed viewers, they don't miss anything. And they're proper watching all the way through. But Lynn here goes, oh, also, yes, I agree, West Africa Week was great. But Ting, your face when Stuart was getting carried away with his pen was hilarious. Were you giving me some eye rolls?
Well, you've got your new toy and you just got a little bit over enthusiastic with it last week. It was everywhere. I thought I was going to
Well,
get scrubbed out at one point.
speaking of a new toy, let's go to it. Let's see it. And we always start with our sewers last week. Who is left? There it is. We've lost Catherine. We've lost Jilly. We've lost Maria. So we're now down to my little pen and my iPad. We're now down to 9 sewers. Oh, they are. That may. Oh, you've already got some glasses on. So So yes, we're down to our 9 sewers. Now, we haven't done this for a fair while, Ting. I actually don't think we've done it this season yet. I don't think you've given us your favourites. Have you got any
You ask
favourites?
me every week, but
Oh,
I'm still holding out.
now, some in the chat, in the comments of the previous videos, have said they've even got final 3s and final 4s lined up. But should we just have a
Oh, you
quick
can't be
go
doing
at?
that.
Let's try and do a group one then, me and you, of a final 4. Are we all happy to say that we think Asma is going to be one of the final 4?
I would imagine so, but like we said before, it only takes one bad week. But
Yeah.
at the moment, yes.
Okay. Another one. I'm still going with Lizzie. I was
Oh, well,
bigged
you
up.
love Lizzie, don't you?
So I'm still going to go there for her as a final 4. Maybe you're not. If you got
Well,
different.
no, I mean, she's not as bad as when she started out. She's done some good stuff over the last couple of weeks, so I don't think she's near the precipice just yet.
And then I think they're two.
Oh, hang on. So this is your 4, is it? It's
No,
not
no, no,
ours.
no,
It's not a
no,
group
no.
thing.
I think there could be quite a few, so I'm happy to switch now. Obviously, we don't have Catherine, we don't have Jilly, we don't have Mia. So who do you want to go for? Who are you going to add to that?
I mean, again, we know anything can happen. I think that Tony W might be a bit of a dark horse because he's just been trotting along in the background doing some good stuff.
Yeah.
So last 3 or 4 possibly.
I agree, absolutely agree. And
And
I'm now torn. Obviously, I know we've seen Reduce, Reuse, Recycle Week, but I'm still thinking Lauren or Tony Beanie.
no.
Oh, really?
As much as I love Tony R, to give him his proper name,
Yeah.
I think we've started to see a bit of a stumble, which often can snowball. I
Right.
think the one you've got to keep your eye on is Mia.
Okay. Right. There we are. Okay, let's go forward then into Reduce, Reuse, Recycle. It's boiling hot here in the UK and in the East. Oh, let's clear that. So I'm in my little, well, it looks like I'm still at the beach. Ting, you've changed from your school teaching outfit into something more snug. Hope it's not so hot where you are.
Well, I had to have a shower in between.
So we're in Reduce, Reuse, Recycle Week, and can I? Are we allowed to do this? You threw 2 slippers at the trailer of Reduce, Reuse, Recycle, so we're already 2 up. But I think all went in expecting it to be a nightmare episode, and we'll see how it gets to at the end. I don't know whether it shifted its reputation as a rubbish week. We'll see when we sum up at the end. But the pattern challenge, let me check my notes. So for the pattern challenge, they had to make a 0 waste trouser. Now, clearly this was a specially made pattern because this was all they had, 1.5 meters just over square, and that is the pattern cut out entirely from it. I was quite excited about this. What did you think at this point, Ting?
Do you know what? I actually was as well, and partly because, also they were given end of lines, weren't they, as well? So even the fabric was supposed to be, stuff that potentially could have been wasted. But for once, it was sensible. Again, in the past, the reuse recycle week has often been a bone of contention because they actually just create a lot of waste and rubbish because everything they do is rubbish in it. But this was actually proper sewing. It was the 0 waste concept is brilliant in terms of the pattern. The good thing about it is you didn't have to be roll ends of fabric. If you wanted that pattern, you could go and find your most favourite fabric and know that you only need 1.5 meters square and that you'll be able to do it. And so actually the first one I thought was really good. Because we're actually not wasting any of that fabric.
I completely agree. And it also inspired me. I want to actually go and have a go at this. So I think that allows us to take one slipper off, Ting.
Don't you be taking my slippers off.
Okay, all right. Right, let's go into the group picture then. Here we go. So this is the group's end of makes. 3 hours they had to make it. They were very big patterns for sure.
Well, so this is my kind of thing. Is if you look there, they're all on male mannequins, and I was like, okay, is it supposed to be like a male trouser? Because they were quite big and baggy. I
Yeah.
do think I've seen Mr. Harry Styles in something, of
Oh.
this sort of ilk.
Ah.
So I suppose it is, but I wasn't sure if that would be my choice. But I suppose
Yeah.
in summer, they would make a nice, like linen type trouser. Certainly lots of air circulating around. But
Yeah,
yeah,
but
it was
there's
just interesting that they were put onto male mannequins because I don't think it was really discussed whether they were male or female.
no. No, it's clear. Yes, unisex from that point of view, anyone can wear it. I just thought they were just too big. So if maybe you're doing the pattern, would you bring down that half a meter square down? Because they looked like I could have probably got 4 of my legs down each one leg. So spacious.
It doesn't matter about how baggy they were there. You'd need the length because you got long
Oh
legs.
yes, true.
You're 6'4", so you're going to need to have that probably. You probably wouldn't be able to turn it up.
Any ones there that you want to start with? Ones that you thought, do you know what? That actually was a good trouser.
Well, actually, I think they were all good. I know
Mm.
they nitpicked on a couple of sewing areas like Tony's pockets and a couple of the others with that, but there was nothing horrendous
No.
that went on. It wasn't like people who didn't get the waistband on or people who didn't do that. Most of the pockets, okay, they didn't get the smooth sewing done that well, but most of them, all of them, they basically did what they were supposed to do
Yeah.
with no waste. I
It.
think what became part of it was the choice of fabric. So I know I did have a gasp of breath when Lizzie went for the check because that is a line. That is a line that if you don't cut it straight, it's going to really show. If that's wonky just by a little
Yeah.
bit on that pattern, it was really going to show.
It.
Luckily, she got it nice and square and managed to get her cuts nice and straight. But I think I said to you straight away, I was like, "Oh my god, that could go horribly wrong." But
Did,
she coped with that really well.
absolutely. Does that show her strength though, and her confidence? Because you wouldn't choose that fabric, would you? You would, if that was
Well,
me and I was in that position. I'd go for a solid.
Well, yes, but then at the same time, we did have, the bit that it was slightly annoying, not quite slipper worthy, was the whole idea of these being roll ends, and they were just stacked there, and everyone did what they normally do, which is just dive in, and
Yeah.
you probably just grab the first one you can get hold of, and then
Ah.
afterwards you're thinking, is there a one I could swap this with, perhaps?
I when I made my gingham shirts, there is an advantage, and I think they did say that when I'm folding and doing my seams or my plackets or my hem, you fold on the line of the gingham. So could
Yes, but
could
I
that have
think
been a
the
secret tip
problem
or an advantage?
I think there was a bit of an advantage there, but the issue was this was a zero waste. On your gingham, you could line it up and make sure that you got if you didn't quite get it right, you could have cut another piece out or
Ah,
you could have straightened up.
yes,
Whereas on here,
yeah,
you had one cut
yeah.
that went up. And if you didn't get that straight, it was going to
Yeah.
knock everything out. So it
Well,
just added a bit of extra pressure that you didn't need because the people who were using solids, it didn't matter if their
yeah.
cut was a little bit off.
And as we know, someone who did struggle was Fauve.
Oh, but
With
that was the weight of the material. She chose
yeah,
the wrong material there. She went for this lovely floral, thinking, oh, it's lovely and floral. But it was actually quite a silky. I mean, I don't think she said what it was exactly, but you could see it was a very silky fabric. And it
mm,
just kept moving when she was sewing it. And of course, she then ended up, with
with
the
it,
hem.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, staggered, yeah, and then
And you
the
can't
issues.
rush with silky fabric either because it will slip. It's bad enough anyway. You want to take it nice and slow. So you can't run it through the machine quickly like you perhaps could with a more sturdier cotton or a linen because it will just shift. And that's what happened.
Let's go back to the group. The solid colours that we've got there. So if I remember rightly, we've got Tony with the denim, haven't we? And who was with the pink? I think it was that Mia there? P with the mint. And I think there's another.
Here with the pink, you mean?
Yes. And there's another Tony there. So let's look at the solid, shall we? So let's go to, if I get the right buttons, let's look at Mia. Take the group away and clear the picture. There we go.
Now, the problem you've got with a solid is that it does then have to be perfect as well.
Yeah.
It's almost just as bad. You're not going to be looking at the solid and worried about the straight lines because that's not there. But because it's a solid, you're going to notice if there's a little tuck or if the pocket wasn't on straight or if it. And we saw that with Tony's his pocket opening on the side, right down at the bottom. There was a bit of a hole. And I think if there was a bit of a pattern there, I mean, Esme would have found it no matter what, but if there was a bit of a pattern there, it kind of hides those perhaps little imperfections. When it's a solid, it's got to be spot on, just as much as it did for Lizzie and her.
Absolutely. But
straight.
There's something about that. It just reminds me of Sporty Spice. I don't know what it is.
Baby Spice, probably.
Oh, you think? It just look. Well, I just imagine her. No, Baby wouldn't be in anything long and baggy like that. She's in.
No, but neither would Sporty Spice. It'd be in a tracksuit, not a big old.
Well,
baggy
it is a bit like that, isn't it? It's like something off Fame or something. Let's take a look at Tony R's next. Let's get rid of Mia. There's Tony R's.
They did look wrong. They did look wrong. He struggled with this, I think, from the start.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why, because they all had the same pattern, but his legs look way wider than everyone else's, which makes you wonder, was his square the right size to start off with?
Well, and he messed the pockets up, didn't he? Because his were, I haven't got a back one, but his pockets were huge, weren't they? They were so long because he didn't do the...
Yeah.
He missed the fold over, didn't he? Bless him. And let's then go to...
They're a bit like your pockets when we go out trying to pay for something. Nice and deep yours are. I can't quite get to your wallet, can you?
Oh, dear. Let's move on to the denim, other Tony. I like the denim colour. It was a...
But again, it just looked very voluminous. Yeah. It looks like a skirt there.
Well, this is what I said about the pattern. I think, obviously, they've got to take up that full size, but they had to put these side panels in, didn't they, as well?
Well, it does make you wonder whether those side panels were actually needed.
Yeah, to take up all the fabric, or to do, I don't know, with the pattern, the pockets. Maybe viewers, you can let us know what you think about that. Okay, let's go back to the group.
You could just put a bit of lassie in the ankles and turn them into pantaloon pants.
Oh,
yeah. Parachute pants.
Yes, you'll be like MC Hammer.
Yeah.
And then Asma, who went for that striking sort of snake print fabric.
Do you know what? I think of all the patterns, that was the right one to choose because it was a regular pattern, but it wasn't a straight line pattern. Yeah. And it wasn't like a flat colour. There was a little bit of interest. So it kind of hid the little bits and pieces, but it still had interest. Her trousers don't look that wide.
No, I think something obviously, was a miss there. Okay, so let's just do tops and bottoms. So we had Asma first. Oh, Vicky a close second. She is being quite consistent with her makes. We'll talk about more her later on. And then down at the other end was Tony. 9th, close with Fauve in 8th. But we've seen Asma come first many times already, so it's not surprised there. Clearly very, very good at following instructions from that point of view. Okay, let's move on to the transformation challenge then. Still only 2 slippers, which is, I say, thrown for just being the title, so nothing too outrageous yet. We go to the next round where I started to get a bit on edge and throw my slippers across the room, but they don't really count because it's you. Let's go to the transformation challenge where they had to make something out of tote bags, and they had to make. It was literally all it was to make a top, but this is the bit where I got a bit narked, is because they had to. Esme made that point of saying they had to combine. I want to see how they use colour and print.
Yeah.
So they have obviously had that in mind. So that will come up, I'm sure, as we discuss. But what did you think of this round compared to transformation challenges of previous reduce, reuse, recycle weeks?
I mean, it was always going to be take something and turn it into. I mean, you could argue that the reduce, reuse, recycle happens every week in the transformation challenge because it's take this one thing and turn it into something else. So fundamentally, it doesn't change from week to week. I did get a little annoyed that they were using these bags. They had made the point that actually the carbon offset with these bags is incredibly high. To make one of these bags, it uses up way more carbon than it does to make a plastic bag. But the idea is that you use this bag over and over and over again. So I get the concept of saying, well, yeah, okay, then, well, let's turn it into a top or something like that. But actually, it's designed to be a bag. It's designed to be used over and over again. It does take a lot of carbon to make those bags. And it's just like, just keep using them as bags. They're not something that, you know, generally stack up. These days, nobody has bags in shops anymore. You always have to have your own bag. Yeah. So I can't see anyone sitting there going, oh, do you know what? I think I'll make something out of all those old bags. And then they go shopping and they can't bring their shopping home. I kind of just got a bit annoyed at what they were using to make it. I didn't have a problem with what anyone made out of it. And at least if you split those bags up, it gives you a bit of flat fabric to work with, which some of them worked very well with. But it just kind of annoyed me that it's not the sort of thing you'd see lying around. I understand, like, if you've redecorated and you've got an old pair of curtains and you want to go all Sound of Music on them, I understand that because they're going to go in the cupboard. But these sorts of things, I don't think they're the sorts of things you go around spending lots, because they're not cheap either.
Oh, no.
And
these printed ones, these coloured ones. No, they're not going to be cheap. It's not like the old beige natural ones, is it?
No. And I just didn't see it as a thing that needs to be reused and recycled. We're already reusing and recycling it by taking it to do our shopping every week. I didn't think it was appropriate, really.
I think what frustrated me was they were being marked on colour and how they used colour and print as well as making a top. But you know what the beginning of the round is like? They all barge in to pick up the tote bags. Well, what happens if I've got left with a rubbishy colour and a rubbishy print, and I'm going to be judged on that? So I was a bit like,
you have to move quicker.
And and the reason why I say that is because, so let's go to the group one. I feel that Vicky here with this one was really hard done by, because she was judged on I don't think the colours really work. And it's like, well, she could have been at the end and all the other totes have gone.
Yeah, but equally, I think one of the Tonys turned around and said, well, I've got 5 bags. So they weren't restricted by the number of bags they could have had. So there had to be more than, 10 bags there. It wasn't like they only had 2 bags each.
Okay.
So there's still an element of choice that she must have made. And I think the comment I said to you on the old telephone last night was, listen to me, from the 1930s. While I was listening to me wireless, it just ended up looking like a bag. It didn't work
what, Vicky's?
at all. That one. Yeah, it looked like a bag.
Well, this is where I think I got frustrated with it, because I actually really liked it, because yes, that bit does. Yes, that does look like a bag because it's the same fabric there, but they just seem to gloss over that bit, which I thought was ingenious. Is it not?
Well, I mean, it's different. Maybe she should have put it round the front.
Or
down the sides, maybe, rather than the back.
Yes.
But the colour, I didn't like the colour. I mean, I know the mustard is in that blue, the blue check and the mustard there. So it does come together. I can see why she's looking at it, but it just didn't seem to work. And given that is tied in at the back, why isn't that more corset shape? Why isn't it much more fitted? I think that was part of the problem as well. You may have done all that on the back, but it's done nothing to it. It looks like a bag.
Yes, well, I suppose that's the 90 minutes. She probably chose to spend the 90 minutes on that bit. But it is fascinating.
Then look at how fitted Asma's was.
Yeah, well, there we are. Let's go on to that one then, which really did stand out. Phenomenal. That does not look like a transformation challenge, does it?
No. But she's got 3 different bags there. She chose the colours that complemented it.
Yeah.
she used the bag ties to do the binding around the shoulder and to make the bow
Yeah.
waistband there as well. And that's where you had to
Wonderful.
treat it like flat bits of fabric rather than
Yeah.
going, oh, I'm just going to use this panel of a bag.
And
Just use it as, oh, I'm going to cut these sleeves out. I'm going to cut this peplum out. I'm going to cut this, bodice out,
and
rather than thinking, oh, I'm just going to see if I can.
oh yeah, absolutely. It's a real thought there, even to the point where so this is the same fabric out of the cream bag, but she's then tied that fabric onto there to make the tie look as though it's
Yeah.
so it's just the placement of the drawing too. You knew straight away when you saw that was first. And yes, how did she create? How did she get those sleeves standing out there? Did she sneak some
Well,
interfacing from the haberdashery?
I wouldn't have thought so, but some of these bags, they are again they're shopping bags, so they're quite sturdy. If that's quite a thick linen, or that
Yeah,
quite a thick
true.
linen, really, that will hold its shape because it's not a big sleeve. It's not a big sleeve, and she's pleated it all in there, so the pleats as well as a heavy weight will help keep its shape.
But you look at that and you just don't think that's a transformation challenge. That will go down as a make probably to remember from the series. I think it's
Yeah.
just so cool. Let's look at Mia.
Well, what the hell?
Right, it doesn't look anything from there.
I couldn't get the concept. I couldn't get the concept.
No, I think it comes better when you then look at the reverse, and then it's suddenly that's very
Yeah,
clever.
Okay.
But yes, I suppose when you look at that,
You wouldn't want to sit down in it. It's all up the back. You wouldn't get cut. You couldn't lie on the beach. You couldn't sit in a chair. You'd all be ruffled up.
you'd have
And
to
you'd be quite exposed. A certain type of party you'd go to wearing that.
Right, let's go to Lizzie, who stood out for me as well. Well, of course she would.
Well, of course you did, because you love Lizzie.
But come on, that is just clever.
But it was a good example of how you
Yeah.
just need to use what's put in front of you.
Yeah.
Although I don't quite understand. I mean, I'm assuming there must have been a couple of bags with bees on them because she's got a lot of fabric there. Unless she's got an old IKEA bag. They weren't huge. They were just little shopping bags. So,
Yeah.
she did well to coordinate all of the colours and those letters, really.
Yeah, I don't think I've got a front shot of it because the back one I just thought really stood out.
Yeah.
But let's go back to the group shot just so you can see. But they were a mixed bag. Oh dear!
How long did it take you to come up with that one?
I know. Don't often crack jokes, but. Considering all they had to do was make a top, but they were going to be looked at for colour and print. Who went for colour and print the most? I think they all cracked that. You look at the colour and the print there, and the colour and the print in that one. They did well, didn't they?
Didn't that one come bottom though?
Lauren, have I got Lauren's here? That one's Lauren's. Hang on, have I got Lauren's? No, I haven't got Lauren's. Haven't got that loaded in. Bottom was Lauren's. I can't remember which one. Lauren. Let me check my notes.
I think it was
Half
that blue
gold.
one.
No, Lauren's is this one. Half gold, half rainbow.
Oh yeah.
I think the blue one is Tony W's.
Tony. Yeah.
Yeah, Tony W's. But anyway, the end results were that was Lauren in 9th. And then top was Asthma with that one. And Lizzie was second. It was a close...
Yeah, where's Lizzie?
a close call with Lizzie. I think they were between Lizzie and Asthma, but I think from a garment point of view, yeah, Asthma was probably a lot higher than Lizzie.
Are you going to be able to carry on watching if Lizzie goes home next week?
I might have to have a week off. I might be emotionally upset. So there we go. So Asthma. Now at this point, so let's just go back to here. And your slipper. Oh, we mustn't lose that, must we? Sorry, everyone. I see. Sometimes I've just got too many
I've still got my
buttons.
slippers.
Yeah, there you go.
There
So
we
at
go.
this point, we've had 2 challenges, and Asma's won both convincingly. I think. I said to you, she could be on for the treble. I don't think in the time I've watched now. I've only been watching since Joe took over. So what was that? Series 5,
No, I can't
6.
remember. Yeah,
You've
possibly.
watched from the beginning. Can you remember a triple ever being done?
Well, funnily enough, I don't keep meticulous records of 9 series of the sewing bit.
Yeah, but you might. That's something that would stand out, wouldn't it? A
I
treble.
mean, yes. I mean, I don't remember that, but then I don't remember what happened on the week before's episode of this series, let alone what happened
Audience,
8 years ago.
if you've been watching since season 1 and you know someone's done the treble, let us know. I'm just thinking back to the original series with what was the lady's name? I want to call her May. Was it May?
Yeah, it was May.
Yeah. Whether it was a Stuart Hilliard or is it Lauren Guthrie, some of these, or Tilly, who's gone on to do Tilly and the Buttons, whether any of them well-known names had got it. But so there we were, ready for Asma to go for the treble. So we go into Made to Measure. And they had to make, it was actually very simple. It was an outfit. But it was an outfit from second-hand crochet blankets that you found from a charity shop. Now, at this point, the WhatsApp message between me and Ting went wild. If Steam could have come off his chat, it would have done. I think is it fair to say you weren't happy at the beginning of this round?
No, wasn't. I must say, I've got a new phone and it's got voice dictation, so it's so much easier because I don't have to type when I'm ranting. I just was talking into the phone and then sending it to you.
Oh, brilliant. Well, I would have never have guessed that. That was
Well, that's
pretty
why I
good.
could write like 5 lines in 2 seconds. I was not impressed.
No.
But that's because I'm a crocheter, and I was like, "This is sacrilege. You don't cut up crochet blankets, and you don't generally anyway. Because if you wanted to make any of those garments, there are patterns where it will fit you properly because you will do the right number of stitches to make that garment. If you want to make a dress, you want to make a cardigan, you can do that. People think that crochet can only be blankets and pillows or baby blankets and stuff like that. You can make clothes, and you'll make clothes that fit properly. And the thing with crochet as well, which again, I'm sorry if some people already know this, but there'll be some people who perhaps have never crocheted in their life. Crochet can only be created by a human. Knitting can be done by a machine. There are knitting machines that do that. But crochet, because it's done with one hook and a hand, no one in all the time and history of the world we've had so far has been able to invent a machine to crochet.
Yeah,
So every single one of those blankets was hours and hours of hand work by a person, and then it was just cut up. I know they did everything in their power to stop it from fraying and everything like that by putting the tape on and everything, but it's not designed to go through a sewing machine. We saw with Matthew, when he was trying to sew 2 bits together, the needle kept breaking because it was not designed to do that. You would knit or you would crochet a panel and then you would sew it together down the side. And we saw that Lizzie did tried to use crochet to shape her garment as well. To try and help with that, because that's what you would do with that. You wouldn't put it through a sewing machine.
Understand.
And I honestly, I thought I was going to have to turn it off because as a person who crochets more than I sew,
Yeah.
I was like, you cannot cut into that. That is not good. And I know we're going to look at all the other stuff, but if you think about Mia, who made the lovely kit with the granny squares, that's because it looked like a granny square jacket that you could make yourself and just sew the granny squares together.
Yeah.
And that's what you should do. You don't take a blanket and cut it up.
No. I agree, and I agree with you there, but I also was trying to calm you down because I was also trying to give another angle, which was these blankets are in a charity shop. No one wants them. So to me, this idea of making them, cutting them up, or being a crafter and a dressmaker, thinking this is a nice challenge. I can reuse this, and I can maybe hand sew or hand crochet would have been better, but yeah, I could try and put it through the sewing machine and make a new garment where actually I can give second life to the crochet blanket, and also then celebrate the work that was already done and further it even more. So you could see it from that point of view.
No.
Viewers,
Get my slipper on. Get my slipper on.
okay,
Wherever it is down here, get me
There you
slipper
go.
on. Right? Because no, if you want to make that jacket, you want to make all that. And I'll tell you another thing. So Lizzie, again, I know I've said a lot about you and Lizzie tonight, but what she did was
Let's go to
good.
it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna disparage what she did. But because it's a thick woolen blanket, it looks like when your sister would wrap a blanket round her, trying to be an adult as a child, and come wandering in, with it wrapped round her with the thick folds of, because it's not a thin piece of fabric.
No,
They even said
that's
her
chunky.
box pleats were
Yeah.
not very good
Yeah.
because it's so thick, and everything was too thick, so it wouldn't go through the machines, and everything, all the seams around the shoulders, down the sides, not just on Lizzie's, on everyone's, they were all too bulky, so it didn't sit on there. And call it a made to measure, it doesn't matter because they've all got given. Look at Thunder Thighs on there. She looks twice as big as that model is because it's so thick, and it got all of that on the side with the box pleats because it's a woolen blanket. You don't go out wearing a woolen blanket.
No.
I don't care if you want to give it second life.
You do go out. I'm trying to.
You wouldn't. You go out in that and you start sweating. It's all going to cling in that wool. Next thing you know, it's all going to be round your ankles, heavy as sweat.
Yeah, but then look at the old Harry Styles cardigan that was knitted.
Yeah.
That was
Harry Styles
it was
cardigan
knitted.
that was knitted and crocheted and then sewn together properly as a garment should be.
But it was still way too big for Harry. It was baggy and oversized.
But it was a cardigan. It wasn't the dress. I mean, the red blanket, which actually she got most of that shape by recrocheting it. But the dress part of this, I mean, don't get me wrong, Lizzie's done a really good job there with what she was working with. But you just wouldn't. I can understand the whole jacket thing. Mia did the jacket with a skirt. And we had a jacket here with a dress. The jacket bit, I think, seems to work because you can get away with a chunky cardigan, which is essentially what it is. It's not a jacket, it's a cardigan because it's a woolen thing.
Yeah.
So, I think those people who perhaps did those, that kind of helped a little bit. But in terms of then trying to make either a top or a dress, it's too bulky. And there was the bit of me screaming because they're cutting up all that hours and hours of work, and then there was part of me also going, well, you would never wear it. You might wear that red cardigan, but you're never going to wear that dress bit. Don't
know. Let's go through. We'll go through them alphabetically because it'll keep us on track easier. I think this is what you were just talking about, really, where it came unstuck, is Asma. Because she's tried to make an outfit. She's made a coat, but then she needs to make an outfit. So she's got this white bit on the front, like a bib.
But that's the thing, though, isn't it? Because I still don't think she should have cut that up, but she turned it into a coat or a jacket or a cardigan because that looks right as a garment.
Yeah.
It doesn't look right as a skirt or a dress or anything. We've just seen that with the other one. Yeah. So actually, that as a garment was fine, but they weren't asked to do that, were they? They were asked to do something a bit more. And actually, I thought, well, I couldn't really understand what the panel was on the front. I know it was all the white flowers that she'd perhaps separated from the rest of the thing, but I didn't know if was that supposed to open down the middle or was it a flap that opened right up? I didn't really understand what that was.
No,
so
I don't know.
I can kind of understand where they're coming from. But if it was very clearly, an opening down the front, so it was almost like an old style military jacket, where that comes across here,
like
and
a
then
pea jacket.
Yeah, if it was like that, I could understand that sort of design. I think they gave her a lot of grief when there was a lot worse there.
Yeah. I think it was mainly probably because wasn't really an out. Well, what is an outfit? Is a jacket an outfit? It's not. You've got to do more than just one item, I think,
Well,
haven't you?
everyone else they did, didn't they? They either
Yeah,
had a jacket and a skirt,
yeah,
or they had a top and a skirt, or something like
yeah.
that.
But she did get. Patrick was quite. I felt quite terse. Is that the word? With her feedback, and she was like, "Okay, thank you." It did
Well, the
seem.
other thing that would be interesting about this, which I don't know, I don't think they touched on it, but it really depends on what blankets you found. So I think a
Oh,
lot of them would have
absolutely.
not have been able to
Yeah,
design what they were going to design
yeah,
until they found the blanket that they were going
yeah.
to use. You couldn't
Well,
turn around and say, "Well, I think I'm just going to do this," and then you can't find a crochet blanket to match.
and also, I don't know about you, but I have gone into many charity shops. I don't know how many granny square blankets you can find in a charity shop. You might don't know whether you'd get them in every charity shop. I think you might have had to
Well,
look quite hard, or did they go to
and this is
London
my
to Portobello Road
this
Market or
is
something
my
like that?
thing as well, though, because they were huge to be able to make what they were making out of them.
Yeah,
They were huge blankets, which again grates my teeth for the amount of time it would have taken to make the blanket on its own, regardless of what you do to it. But yeah, you don't generally see them lying around
no,
everywhere.
no.
I mean, look at that one again. Made to measure. Didn't matter who was wearing that. That's a sack because it's too thick. It's
Yes,
too thick to work with,
yeah.
like a piece of flat cotton. That's what it is.
There is some shaping there, though, isn't there? Look,
There's a
it go,
little bit, but
it
how
goes
much of
in.
that is also down to just simply the wool movement?
Well, that's it. It is heavy, isn't it? And most of these
Yeah,
blankets, from what I could see, were probably chunky weight
they were
yarn, weren't
chunky.
they?
They weren't double knit or
No.
anything finer than that.
But that's clever designing, isn't it?
Oh,
That's
absolutely. I'm assuming I don't remember seeing the blanket from the start, but it's either a very big blanket where the blue and white was all the way along, or it was double ended, maybe with blue and white and red, blue and white, to be able to get the sleeves and the neck, because otherwise that would have been a huge blanket.
it. I tell you what would have been really good is if, as the models were coming down, they had the original blanket
Oh, here we go.
that we could
Tony
see,
Hart got his pen out.
and then we could go, "Oh wow, how they've gone from that to that." That would have been really nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but then some of them used multiple blankets, didn't they?
Yeah,
So
yeah. So let's go to next down alphabetical order. Mia. It it is
now
good, isn't it?
this. Shall I tell you why this also worked? And she won with this, didn't she?
Yes, she did.
Because
Yeah,
that is currently what you can go on to Ravelry or
yeah,
online or wherever you go for your patterns, and you can make your granny squares and
yeah,
you can turn it into that outfit without hacking up a blanket that already exists.
yeah.
That's a very fashionable current item that people are making and crocheting themselves, not carving up blankets.
Well, I'm just keep talking there because I just suddenly, when you said that, just suddenly remembered Sam Ryder, Eurovision. All
Yeah.
he's wearing is crochet. Eddie, aren't you knitting something inspired by him, Ting?
Oh no,
Crocheting something by him.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, yes, just a long cardigan. It's taken the time. I obviously don't need it in this weather, so it'll be for this winter, I would imagine. But yeah, it's just a long cardigan. You just make a long piece of fabric that
Here we
you
go.
crochet. You don't start hacking things up and sewing it together.
Just going to drop, if I can,
And I
into.
think Mia was the one who was she crocheted some of it together to help, especially with the white sleeves, because that was just a white plain granny blanket. She used her crochet skills to actually bring some of it together, and that helped a little bit with some of her seams, as opposed to others and poor Matthew who were trying to pass it through double thickness through their machines.
I
And don't
can't.
forget, they put
Oh,
tape
yeah.
and everything else on top of it to try and stabilize it, and just trying to put all that through a machine and wondering why the needle keeps breaking. Well, because you're not supposed to do it. You're supposed to
Yeah.
crochet it, and you're supposed to then sew it together that way.
I can't drag it in because the software is recording. But viewers, put Sam Ryder in, Sam Ryder crochet, and you'll see him in these lovely long coats that someone's obviously done for him in various colours. And it
I
is
mean,
like
basically,
this. It's like
They
that.
basically look like asthmas without the horrible white flowers at the front.
Yes, it is. Yeah,
They're that length, aren't they? They're
and
long.
it's two by
And
two. Yeah.
yeah,
And it is very much the in thing at the moment, as Ting said, and that's, as you said, that's why it worked, because it looks like like a proper garment that you would make with crochet. That's how you would do it. You'd have, and in fact, I think I've even got. Let's go back to Mia. Mia. I think I've got a back picture of it as well because it was so good. Ooh, what have I done with it? Oh, maybe I haven't. There it is. Yeah. Look at that. Four with four as you've got.
we do. Yeah, it's four on the back, and then two and two on the front.
Yeah.
The only thing she did because of the sewing is shape it around the armholes. But in reality, if you were crocheting it, you wouldn't. It would be a bit more boxy in that respect. But that's a garment that you can go and get a pattern for to actually crochet yourself.
And I think this worked even more because she avoided having 2x2 on the sleeves.
Yeah.
She could have had more squares. That would have then, I think, have been a bit too dense and a bit too
Would have been
mind-boggling.
far too much. She did the right thing there with the white sleeves. Yeah.
But did that then cause issues? And we're now going to go out of sync because was it Vicky? Who had the same idea, but
oh my god,
white sleeves, but they didn't like this at all, did they?
Well, no, look at it. It looks awful. You've got those two huge granny squares in the middle, and then you've got these smaller ones going round, but it's just a huge box going all the way. Again, made to measure. No, it's not. It's been woven, sewn together, and then just slotted onto this poor model. She looks like, again, thunder thighs. And then to make matters worse, not only does it got her thighs out here, but it then goes down and flares out where she's put these other granny squares all round the bottom. And I know part of a granny thing is that you have, very often, they're using up your old bits of yarn, so they don't always coordinate. But that assaults my eyes.
Well, there's a lot of excess room there, isn't there, for sure?
Yeah. But this is where you can't do anything with it because of what it is. So if she wanted to make that fit, you would put a dart in, or you would actually cut that fabric so it was a bit more fitted, if it was fabric. But you can't just then go, oh, whip that off, love, and we'll just cut that down there because that would all just pop apart. So
they wouldn't have the time, would they? To
well, no, you wouldn't have the time, but you couldn't do that even if you did have the time because it would just be horrendous.
Yeah. So you felt that the judge's decision about the white sleeves, even though Mia had white sleeves to give it a bit of an empty space to let the eyes rest.
But the white sleeve brought it together because her blanket was woven together with white, wasn't it? Whereas here, there's not enough white to kind of balance it out.
Yes.
Oh, stop! It's making me. I'm gonna have to go to the
optician. Right. We then we've looked at Lizzie's already. Fauve. Oh no, we've done Fauve, haven't we?
No.
Where are we now? Have we done Fauves? Oh yes.
No.
Yeah. Oh, we're at Matthew now. We're at M. Matthew. Well, this is exactly he's through no fault of his own is in the problem that you've just been talking about for the last 10 minutes.
Well, yes, but then he's the one that turned up wearing a bloody harness that he'd made out of crocheted stuff. So you think, well, hang on, you've obviously tried to do this with something before. But he's
obviously very talented at crochet, like Mia.
She looks like she is wearing a blanket.
Well, she is wearing a blanket. It is a blanket.
Well,
it's just made into a dress.
Now, isn't it? Yeah, but it looks like she's got a blanket wrapped around her.
Oh.
And in fact, it's even worse. It looks like an industrial blanket because that red bit around her stomach or anything, that could be like, some industrial printing on there.
Yeah, it does look like it, doesn't it?
Yeah, maybe don't draw that. And then, of course, he was, because of all the trouble he was having, because he was trying to fully proper sew with it, he then ran out of time to put the bow on. But again, the bow would have only pleased Esme. It still would have looked that bad, but with a bow on. They were going, oh, well, if you just put the bow on. No, you can't just put the bow on. It still would have looked that rubbish.
Yeah. Is this not good? I quite like this design where it is... is that a slit there?
Well, all he's done is he's wrapped the blanket around.
Right,
he hasn't joined it together with the seam. He's just overlaid it.
But
that's why it looks like he's wrapped a blanket around her and tucked it like you do with a towel when you get out of the shower.
Yeah. But is that not trying to be clever to put the seam down the side there rather than having to tackle it anywhere else?
Well, yeah, I mean, you could treat it like a kilt, couldn't you? Because a kilt doesn't have a seam. You wrap it around like that.
Yeah.
But because it had that red border on it, then just highlighted that even more and made it stand out and then made it look like you just wrapped a blanket around you.
And don't forget, they've lined it.
Deliver your pizza and you've gone, oh, I haven't got my pants on, so I'll just wrap a blanket around me to cover me modesty and go and answer the door.
And actually, it's an interesting crochet blanket anyway design, isn't it?
Well, yeah, I mean, that's a very unique.
My granny's not crocheted that. So is this, this is a young'un that's done this and not liked it and gone to the charity shop?
Well, but again, why would you do all of that and then go, oh, I've just spent the last 5 weeks making this blanket and spent probably a lot of money on grey and red coordinating wool and then go, oh, no, I don't like it. That's where this challenge gets on my nerves.
A lot of my ladies, we were discussing it today at the shop at the social, and they were going, "No, they didn't get those. They didn't get them from a charity shop. They've all been made." So there was conspiracy theories galore about.
Well, they may have been. They may have been made because you argue, how did Lizzie, that only really worked with that dress that she got there. But had it been made by someone, and then if it had, if I'd have had a phone call, I mean, they would never ring me, but if I'd had a phone call, said, could I commission a blanket that was X wide and X long? So you do it all, and then next time I see it, it's being cut up on there, I'd have had a heart attack and died on the floor. You spent 50 hours crocheted down to the bone on your fingers, and then next time you see it, it's being sliced up on here. Come on, Chuckles, hit the button. What's next?
Oh, dear.
Oh, my Lord, not that one. I mean, I like the concept, and I got the festival groove from it, but...
This is wonderful. I think that's very funky, but, yeah, I don't... The thing with Tony is, which we've discussed... He's got this great mind of design and it's all angular and very precise. That the skill to get, I don't think I've got another shot, but to get these lines matching up.
Exactly. And I don't actually have much of an issue over his colour thing because that, the green and the orange and that they coordinate. It does make you wonder whether it was commissioned, but those coordinated. What I didn't get is why you then had the blue top. Why wasn't it an orange top or a black top or even a green top?
Because that would have then looked like it was too forced. These are from charity shops, aren't they? So they can't all be.
Are they? Are they? That's the thing, though, isn't it? Because
we don't want to start. Yeah.
Well, it does seem bizarre that if you look at this here, that the orange appears on both.
Yeah.
Doesn't it? And that blue does seem to appear on the left-hand leg over there. And the peach goes across. So there's a little bit of coordination there.
Well, this is Mrs. Miggins and her crochet at a charity shop down in South London, isn't it?
No, you know who it is.
This is
Betty.
Betty.
Absolutely spitting nails because she's just spent 6 weeks making all these blankets down to the bone on her hands, and now she isn't going to be able to stitch the dresses for Strictly.
I bet she was having a nightmare over this week, wasn't she? Oh, right.
We need a blanket that's 2 meters by 3 meters. Can you knock one up for us?
And then we've got Tony W, who we said right from the beginning, when we were looking at the sewers, consistently doing some great makes. I really enjoyed this one. Really enjoyed it.
This was the only one where I could forgive him for what he'd done because I think it was a lighter weight blanket than some of the others. Again, you can go and make yourself a dress like that. It is just trebles, round and round and round and round and round. You could do that, but he did get it to fit. I mean, I did want to cry when he cut up that chevron blanket, because they are a nightmare to make. But he did his best to do all that. But I think it being a lighter weight wool, whereas a lot of the others were chunky and above. I think.
I mean, it is. This chevron here is lovely. It was a shame. I think I've got. Excuse me while I just look here.
Well, and then this is the other issue, isn't it? So he went wrong. He went wrong on the front panels, and he'd got everything lined up properly. But because you're working with crochet, the minute he tried to unpick it, not only was he unpicking the stitches of cotton, it then started unraveling the stitches of wool. And, okay, you could argue he made a mistake. That's his fault. Okay, he was being rushed in a timely manner as well. But that's where it's impractical to do what you're doing. If it had been made as proper crochet panels, that wouldn't be an issue. If you'd sewn it up wrong, you'd have pulled the yarn back out and then you'd have re-sewn it how it needed to be. But because you'd cut this and then put it through a sewing machine, the minute you tried to unpick that, everything unraveled. And that was the problem with the task. I'm not getting at Tony for this. That was the problem with the task.
Yeah. But had he have got that chevron on the front as well, on this bit here,
well, he did. I mean, he was practically there, wasn't he?
Yeah.
That's why I think he's the dark horse you've got to keep an eye on.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, there we are. Yeah, we've got to the end of that round. Still only on 3 slippers. That's not bad at all, Not bad, considering some weeks.
I probably could have gone with another one. I could have gone with quite a lot in that last round, really. Once when they announced it, and probably 2 or 3 more when they were actually butchering them up.
Let us know in the comments, where did you get to? We're up to 3, 4, 5. I think Everbee, who really loves the idea of the slippers, she was on one of the comments. I should have put it up actually. She was actually making slippers in preparation for throwing. Oh, you're right. Garment of the week. Without a doubt. Oh, Tony's still up there. Hang on, let's go back. See you later, Tony. Without a doubt, we knew it was going to go to Mia.
Yeah,
it was. So that was them awarding it there, and then a nicer angle there. This is where you can see the cleverness using the edge. So no cutting there, using the edge as the button band.
Yeah.
Wonderful. And then who went home? It was close.
Matthew did.
Well, he did go home, yes, Matthew. But wasn't it close? Thinking at first who it could be.
Well, we'd gone with Fove, hadn't we? I think, early on in the show, we went with Fove at about 9:10. But
yes, because they were editing that, and then for the first round, Fove was.
If you want another slipper, we can talk about editing if you like.
Oh, actually, yes, because we both said that, didn't we? Yeah. So yeah,
get another one down.
I'll allow that one. There you go. Hurled the slipper.
So
for editing.
What I got annoyed at this week,
was
when we had the time counts.
Yeah.
And we all know it's false anyway. I know that when they say, oh, you've got 5 minutes, they haven't got 5 minutes. But what really annoyed me, and they did it on all of the challenges, they had her stand there and go, 1 minute left, 30 seconds left, and all the people, the editing showed them all sat at their machines going, They weren't dressing the mannequin. If you had 1 minute left, you would be dressing your mannequin. You wouldn't be sewing. We are not ignorant.
Yeah.
We do not need it to be edited to show that with 30 seconds to go, half the sewers are still sewing. No, they're not, because then miraculously, after 30 seconds, they're wheeling it over. So when did that go on? Mary Poppins sweep in and get them all onto the mannequins? Don't treat us like idiots, okay? I know we need the time counts, and I know it adds that bit of pressure, but don't edit it like we're idiots. Oh, well, in 30 seconds, she leapt off that chair and she
made a belt.
pulled it over that mannequin
Yeah.
and then just flew across the room like Superman and got
Yeah.
it into the kit. No, they didn't. Because when they did the time count that said 5 minutes, that's when everyone got up and started to dress the mannequins. Don't treat us like idiots or you're going to get more slippers.
It's a very valid point, because it's where the idea of entertainment takes over from education, and they're thinking, right, it's BBC One, it's mainstream, does entertainment have to take over? Whereas actually, no, we would be quite happy seeing a bit of sewing.
Nobody is channel surfing at 9:45 at night going,
No,
oh, I wonder what's on BBC One. Yeah. Oh, you know what? Look at these people, super sewers who in 30 seconds are leaping off their machines. I must tune in next week. If you're watching the Sewing Bee, you started it at 9 and you know exactly what's going on. You know that is an absolute load of poppycock. So don't treat us like idiots.
No, completely right. And I think if they changed that and changed the editing and then made it less frenetic too, because we don't need that tension there, we'd actually see a bit more sewing or a bit more skill stuff going on, wouldn't we? And actually be able to enjoy the sewing, because it wouldn't be so cut, because they wouldn't have to make that feeling of tension of only 4 minutes left, 3 minutes left, and then Sarah wouldn't have to keep doing the little cutaways of 5 minutes to go, 2 minutes to go.
And I'll tell you what else. We'd be able to have more of Amber, who made a very welcome return last night.
Didn't she? She looked stunning. Absolutely wonderful, especially with the early bit about crochet, which I didn't know about. But I did know a bit when they showed the Harry Styles cardigan, which I know I got on my high horse there. It was knitted first. But the story behind that was it was knitted, right? So he was wearing it, and then he was on the one show in the summer. I think it was 2020. And someone, as you do, you're inspired by it and you want to make it. Well, it was this girl that did it, but she didn't knit it. She crocheted it. So she designed it herself, copied it off the telly and crocheted it. And then she wore it, and then it went absolutely viral because of the crocheters in the world and the knitters in the world. So then J.W. Anderson then released the pattern as a knitting pattern for everyone to do. So I then knitted it. You can see some of the old vlogs of it. And then loads of people knitted it. And now the knitted version of Harry Styles cardigan by J.W. Anderson and her crochet version is in the V&A.
Yeah.
Proud as punch. And it is a lovely story. But yes, you're right, Ting. It was lovely seeing Amber and having that bit there. So a great episode overall. Not as bad as previous R&R weeks.
Slipper counts might disagree, but yes, compared to other R&Rs, yeah.
Wonderful. Well, let us know what you thought in the comments. Type away. We're keeping up. I've been replying to you all, and it's great continuing that conversation, because let's be honest, there are no other mainstream sewing TV programs. In fact, there aren't. Well, is it Project Runway? That's one, isn't it? Sewing.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
There aren't many, so it's good to keep talking about it. We want to keep it on telly. Maybe just tweak it here and there, but ultimately we love watching it, talking about it, being inspired. So Ting, are you going to go out and make some zero waist trousers now that could fit Mr. Blobby because they're so big?
No, I've got to go and mark some exam papers.
It's been great fun for Slippers and deserved for those places, I think. Let us know what you think in the comments, and we'll see you next week for week 5, halfway through the season. See you, everyone. Bye.